My name is Paul Young. I'm a chocolatier.
Mm-hmm.
I've got two real chocolateries in central London, one in Islington, one in the City, Bank. We make handmade chocolates.
Mm-hmm.
We've won 10 awards, including Best New Chocolate Shop and the World Chocolate Awards. And we ended up being named the innovator in the chocolate world, coming up with creative flavours, things like Marmite and goat's cheese.
Yes. You're known for the kind of the strange flavours of chocolate.
Yeah, unusual but friendly.
When you say real chocolatier, what does that mean?
We don't use any automation, so everything's done in the artisan way by hand. There's no machinery.
Okay.
We employ people and train people and give them apprenticeships rather than buying machinery.
Yeah.
We don't use anything artificial, flavour-wise, preservative-wise. That means our chocolates are like a fresh cake or a fresh piece of meat or fish.
Yeah.
It has to be eaten within 7 days.
Okay.
And there's absolutely no compromise on the quality of ingredients and how we produce the chocolates.
Now, when did you start your first shop in
The
London?
first shop opened 2.5 years ago
Okay.
in Islington, although before that we were developing chocolates for other chocolate companies which are much bigger than us.
That's why I wanted to ask you kind of how you got started and how you kind of approached the starting your own business side of things, because obviously what we're looking at today is independent businesses and how they kind of cope in the real world. So I just want to kind of get your take on that.
My main employment was as a patissier
Right.
for Marco Pierre White and big restaurants, and leaving that I decided to do things on my own, and it was when I was doing a food festival for small independent producers, Henrietta Green's Food Lovers Fair in Covent Garden, where I had my first business cards made, and I kind of lashed them out to every single person. And I was already working with chocolate a little bit,
Yeah.
but I always used it as a patissier. And I gave them a card to Rococo Chocolates. Now they still, after 25 years, they've been going this year. They've got 3 small shops,
Right.
although they do have a big distribution and mail order around the world. But they started the same way, by hand in their home kitchen. And they asked me to develop some chocolates for them, the first National Chocolate Week, to sell in their shop in King's Road.
Right.
And that's how it started. And within 3 months, I was developing chocolates for Harrods, for Sharp and LA Walker, which is one of the other big chocolate companies, and Pierre Marcolini UK,
Right.
which is I was already been developing for other companies like M&S and Sainsbury's, but that was savoury Japanese and Indian and American food. So I had a name for being innovative already. Luckily, I didn't hand over or give anyone the rights to my recipes.
Right. And was that a conscious decision on your part because you knew you were going to go into some kind of independent business?
It's funny
model,
because
or-
at that point I didn't really know that I wanted my own shop, own chocolatier. I knew I suppose I was filling a gap and it naturally progressed.
Yeah.
But there's something in my mind that said, hang on, people are liking it too much
Yeah.
to give it away. And it was within 3 months we decided we had to start a small business.
So it was born out of necessity more than anything else, really.
It was, and creativity, and because James and I couldn't buy fresh, we both love chocolate, we couldn't buy fresh chocolate.
So there was a gap in the market
Yeah, there was nowhere to buy fresh, unpreserved, unmanufactured, unmass-produced chocolate.
there. Okay. And did you know there was a market out there wider than you and your small circle of friends?
Yeah,
Chocolate-loving
well,
friends?
it's funny because as soon as we started doing it and developing it, people were going, we love this, we love this, we love this, you should do it here, there and everywhere. But we decided to focus on London initially. We will and do want to move out of London, but we only want to have 4 to 5 shops maximum.
Right.
That is as big as the company will get. We do not want to do...
Why is that? Why have you set yourself that kind of limit?
Because we can't make handmade. I could quite easily, in a year or 2 years' time, become very wealthy and have 25 stores. I mean, Hotel Chocolat have done that. They don't make by hand anymore. It's all mass production. But there's no soul there. Every shop's generic. People can't walk in and feel they're in somewhere different.
Yeah.
They could go in one here, one in Bath, one in Coventry, one in Watford, and it'll be exactly the same.
Right.
Here, or doing it with just 5 shops, we have people who absolutely love their jobs, who have been trained from not knowing anything about chocolate to knowing everything, because we do everything on site.
Yeah.
And people want an experience. I want people to have an experience. I don't want them just to grab something off the shelf and walk out.
Yeah.
And it's not just about, it is about making money because we've made business work, but for me it's not just about making lots of money, because it's food and being a chef and a petition being my entire working life.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have a fantastic reputation and a fantastic product rather than an okay reputation and an okay product, because that's the only place I can get to.
You've don't take this as an insult, but you've played the promotion game quite well from what I've seen. I mean, I mean, and obviously word of mouth is incredibly
It is,
important to you.
absolutely.
But I see you're facing lots of men's magazines and papers
Yes,
and things as
yeah,
well. So
yeah.
how have you gone about creating that kind of that buzz?
I was already doing a lot of TV as a chef,
Right.
about for the past 8 or 9 years.
So you were a media whore already?
Already, yeah. Well, I got approached by the BBC for UK TV Food when they started Great Food Live.
Yeah.
It was like a daily live food show, and there were other patissiers on there doing the same things, making another lemon tart and another mousse, and I said, well, I can do something different. I can show you people how to make things at home that are really cutting edge and different and creative.
Yeah.
So that started then, and just out of the business growing, we decided to have a PR person just to get the coverage.
Right. Okay.
But and then very
And that was
quickly.
an in-house PR person.
No, we
That's
use
to it.
a small PR company who deals with small.
Right. Okay. It's quite a big step for a
Small
small
business.
fledgling business to go out and say, right, we're going to get a PR person.
It is. I was quite lucky because it was one of my close friends who has a PR company, and she saw something that was different and said, "Look, you need something. Can I start the ball rolling?"
Yeah.
But it was a mutual kind of agreement at the time that we needed a little bit of help, just to get a bit wider. But now people just come directly to us quite often and just say, "What are you doing now? We have press launches, that kind of thing."
You've got a hardcore kind of loyal customer base.
We've got customers and journalist base who really like what we do and just keep coming. What have you got new?
Well, that's it. If you're going to target a customer base, then journalists are probably the first ones you should go out.
And they love us because lots of
free
nice
chocolate.
I think that's why they come and see
That would
us,
help
really.
as well.
But it's also, I mean, I understand how important it is to be. The business is called my name for a start, so I understand the importance of actually having to be there
Yeah.
and to be the face of it.
Like you stood on a roof in the rain with us here today.
But it's important. I mean, I get comments so many times when I go to events saying, "We didn't expect you to be there." It's as though you give your name to it and then you sat on your luxury yacht in the Bahamas, just reaping the benefits. But for us, it's about, I'm not a sit-down person. I like to
The
be
yacht's
there.
gathering dust, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Sell it on, rent it out.
Yeah.
It's about being part of what I'm doing. And if people see me doing it and see me getting stuck in, it just strengthens the brand every single time. It's like going to a Gordon Ramsay restaurant
Yeah, I was just going
and
to say.
believing that he's cooking the
I
food.
think
but
everyone I
he's
know
not.
has been to a Gordon Ramsay restaurant. The main complaint they have is Gordon Ramsay wasn't there.
That's the problem with opening 10, 15, 20 restaurants in your name. And that's why we want to stay small. I can't open that many, but never be there.
Yeah.
Or never. I still make chocolates every day.
So as your scalability, to use that word, it's like you're going to do 4 or 5 shops, you said, and that's mainly because you want to be present at most of those places to have a direct input into the...
Exactly. I think with 4 to 5, you can pretty much still have an input. You can work closely with the team, so that although eventually my role will become more of a creative director, because I will eventually not want to be working the hours that I tend to do now, or especially at Christmas and things. It'd be nice to be the creative force, and then give people these jobs and apprenticeships and internships, and still be there and have hands-on, but be able to be in all the shops at some point.
And to what extent is the slightly unusual flavours, to what extent is that kind of a marketing thing?
Well,
I'm playing devil's advocate here, but I mean...
It started with Marmite. That was the whole thing that started it off. It was a journalist, Lydia Slater, who said, "I bet you can't make Marmite work." And I've been working with it for a little while. So I worked on it. 2 months later, I got one that worked, and it hasn't been off the selection in the shop for 2.5 years. And that was a gimmick for a while. But then very quickly, there was a journalist wrote that was the Heston Blumenthal of chocolate, because we started to look at it and say, well, hang on a minute, these unusual things can work, but just not in the robust form. You don't just take Marmite and fill it with chocolate, put chocolate around it. You've got to blend it. So we take care in blending, but it keeps people coming back because they say, well, what's a bit different? Because we can get a dark chocolate truffle anyway, or we can get a raspberry chocolate. They can get that with us as well if they want it, but our new customers tend to go for that.
Yeah.
And then the people that come back and back and back want something different.
Yeah. And you've recently been working with a larger brand.
I have.
What's that experience been like? I mean, I think that'd be quite surprising to a lot of people.
It is, and it has been, and people have commented on that.
Just tell us briefly what you've been doing, if you're allowed to.
Oh, I can. I've been working with Magnum,
Right.
The ice cream brand, to promote and to help their customer base and journalists understand what real chocolate is.
Right.
So they've taken a big step. Now, it is unusual for someone like myself to go and do some consultancy for a big firm, but what I will say is I had no part in making the product, developing the product, marketing the product at all.
Right, okay.
I probably wouldn't, if they said to me, would you develop a product, I'd probably say no. But what they have done is they've helped get origin chocolate, which is chocolate from one country or one plantation, onto a product that hundreds of thousands of people will eat and start to understand what it is. So one of the products is called Ecuador Dark, and it's using cocoa beans just from Ecuador.
Right.
And there isn't anything in the chocolate that is artificial. It's just cocoa beans, cocoa butter, sugar. It's real chocolate.
Because with my cynical consumer eye, I would see a poster for Ecuador chocolate Magnum with a woman from Desperate Housewives on it, and imagine that they've just put the word Ecuador on there because it conjures up images of pure chocolate. I wouldn't actually assume that was what it was.
That's exactly what everyone thinks.
Yeah.
And that's why they asked me to come on board as an artisan chocolatier with a good name, with a reputation to kind of put that right.
What was the experience like for you?
It was at the beginning quite difficult because I think they were expecting me in a sense to not endorse the product but really promote it. I said, look, I made it very clear that I'm talking about the chocolate, the cocoa beans, where they're from, the origin, the history of chocolate, and the whole why it's chocolate on the product. Now I don't talk about the ice cream inside.
Yeah.
It's just to get the point across that people now, the general public, can pay £1.50 to £2 for a product and experience real chocolate. And the biggest thing I found, because in like 2 days we gave out 5,000 free Ecuador Dark Magnums in Dublin, and all the people that said they thought they didn't like dark chocolate because they'd had very, very poor quality dark chocolate and it tasted bitter and burnt. The chocolate on the Magnum doesn't. It's actually quite a delicate dark chocolate, and it converted so many people into. I mean, they were free, so they probably wouldn't have had an ice cream, or they had said, well, I don't really like ice cream, but I'll have one because it's free.
Yeah.
So it's a great marketing tool. But they actually said the chocolate's very nice, and I thought I didn't like dark chocolate. Then me as a chocolatier would say, well, I'm a chocolatier. I make this dark chocolate that is the same characteristic, etc., and kind of plug myself a little bit. And then they said, well, I'll try some dark chocolate from here or from there. So in a sense, for me, it was self-promotion slightly, but it was trying to improve people's idea of what they see the chocolate is. Because there are other brands out there doing imitations and it isn't real pure chocolate. So I am very careful about what I do with them and how I do it. And I never ever kind of say I put my name to the product or I agree with everything. It's about promoting cocoa beans and the chocolate and getting people to understand that it's pure.
So just kind of coming back finally to what we're doing here today, what's your kind of advice or take on being an independent business in the UK in 2008 and making that work?
I could say lots.
In a nutshell.
In a very large nutshell.
A very large
nutshell. The key thing is, there's some negatives and positives.
Yeah.
The negatives are, this is with chocolate, just as an example. It seems very romantic on the outside. And lots of people take it as hobbies, but then very, very quickly that hobby becomes work.
Yeah.
And you don't realise how much work it's going to be, and you do work seven days a week. That's just how it is in some form. Biggest advice is if you're creating something, keep creative. Don't lose the creativity. I found that the hardest thing. As the business grows, you have to control more and manage more, and that can take over the creativity. But never lose that. You've got to step out and make sure you give yourself time out to be creative. People management. With an independent business, it's quite hard for employees to come in and think, I've got a career in this. It's a new business, it's small. It's not a big group, you're not going to get pensions and big bonuses. It's about starting with a small company and seeing how well we'll be in 5 years or 10 years. So I know I've had to really nurture my team to keep them. And you want to keep your team as a small business because what the consumer doesn't like is a fast turnover of staff when it's a new brand. Because they see that as a little bit of a weakness. And the other thing is, make sure that you're there, you're heading it up.
Yeah.
People do like to see the person or the people.
Especially if it's your name on the brand.
Yeah. And don't ever compromise on your brand ethics or your mission statement or what you started. Because I've seen lots of small companies grow too quickly and it's still the product with that name on, but the quality is dropped, and that's the key thing. Do not let the quality drop. Whether you're a service, a small cafe and you're giving a service, or whether you're making something like we're doing, you can't compromise that, because as soon we get lots of comments in the shop saying, please don't grow too quickly. We don't want you to be on every high street. We don't want you to be available to everyone. We like you special because you aren't that big, and getting that fine line is difficult.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers for that.